This is a Red FM podcast.
ਡਾਕਟਰ ਜਿਲੀਅਨ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਸ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨਗੇ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਚੀਫ ਆਡੀਓਲੋਜਿਸਟ ਵੀ ਹਨ, ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸੁਣਦਾ ਕਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੈ, ਸੁਣਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਕੰਨਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਹੋਰ ਸਮੱਸਿਆਵਾਂ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉੱਚਾ ਸੁਣਨ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਬਦਲ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ, ਔਰ ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸੁਣਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਸੁਣਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਇਆ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਯਾਦਾਸ਼ਤ ਸ਼ਕਤੀ ਵੀ ਕਮਜ਼ੋਰ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ। ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਯਾਦਾਸ਼ਤ ਸ਼ਕਤੀ ਨੂੰ ਹੋਰ ਤੇਜ਼ ਰੱਖਣ ਲਈ ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਠੀਕ ਸੁਣਦਾ ਰਹੇ। ਅੱਜ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਹੋਵੇਗੀ। Dr. Price, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, first of all, tell us that how do we hear, how do our ears work?
Yes, well, it can be complicated when you explain really in detail what's happening, but I think something that many people don't realize is that we actually don't hear with our ears, we hear with our brain. So although the ear collects the sound and sends it to where it needs to go, all the processing that actually happens where we understand the sounds around us happens in the brain. So really, the brain does all the work of the hearing, and the ear is just the mechanism to which the sound makes its way.
If you are hard of hearing, then you lose your memory too?
No, not necessarily at all. We do know from research that's ongoing, and really quite a bit of research is happening right now with hearing loss and cognitive decline. And there definitely is a relationship there, but we don't know exactly what the cause is. So there's no causal relation established as of yet. So we can have issues with cognitive decline from hearing loss, or at least we know that it puts us more at risk. So it's very important now more than ever to get your hearing checked so you can reduce your risk of having issues such as memory or being able to, carry out regular daily functions. We want to get our hearing checked. And at HearingLife, you can do that free of charge. So you could come in to any one of our clinics and have a complete hearing evaluation, and that would be at no cost to you. So I do recommend that people do that, especially age 60 and over. And you can visit our website at www.hearinglife.ca to see all of our locations. We are Canada-wide, and we have over 200, so there should be one close to you.
Mm-hmm. So what is really the hearing loss?
So typically what happens for most people, and hearing loss pretty much happens to almost everyone at some point in their age or in their life, and that's because it is a natural process of aging. And what happens is really it's a accumulation of noise exposure, or what we call noise pollution, being bombarded with sounds all day long. And eventually that does take its toll on our ears, and we will have some reduction in hearing as a result. And because the hair cells in our inner ear, they do not regenerate. So once they die off, they're gone for good. And this is why it's so common for especially individuals 60 and over to start noticing that they're not hearing as well. It's very similar to your eyes. Your eyesight does change as you age. It's the same with your hearing. Your hearing will change over time. And we will be left with some reduction in hearing. So it's sort of an age-related issue, but more so it's from all of that noise pollution that we experience just from living, because the world is a noisy place.
So you mentioned 60 years of age time and again. So really some people at 60, even at 70, their hearing is fine. So how come it's not affected?
Well, and that's because everybody's lives are different. So what you've been exposed to throughout your lifetime is very unique to you. Maybe you have worked in a noisy environment, so you've been exposed because of your occupation. Maybe you have some genetic disposition, so there's hearing loss in your family that runs in your family. Or maybe you just didn't take care of your ears and, you had some noisy hobbies. There's lots of things. Music lovers who love to attend concerts, it's wonderful to attend live music, but it's also very damaging on your ears. So it's about being proactive and protecting your ears, because we have no on-off switch. We listen all day long, even without being conscious of it. There's no way to shut your ears off. The only way we can protect them is using hearing protection, and that's really our only defense. Otherwise, all that sound gets in there and can cause damage.
So I'm hearing now your conversation through headphones. I'm wearing headphones, and I wear it every day for 3.5 hours. And there are many other people who do the same. So what you're saying basically is that we will have our hearing loss pretty quick?
No, I'm not saying that at all. If you are, taking the right steps, you can absolutely protect what you have and, hopefully slow down that natural process of aging, because those hair cells will die off over time regardless. I mean, that is a natural process of aging. But if you're wearing headphones or being exposed to any noise that's pretty close to your ears, it's the formula that is used to determine whether it's safe or unsafe is all about the amount of time you're exposed and the level, the volume. And so if you can keep the volume at a fairly safe level, and when we always recommend with earbuds or headphones that it's no more than 60% of the max volume, then you can listen to those and potentially not be in harm's way. But if you start to listen at a higher volume, then you cut the amount of time that you can be exposed before you're putting yourself at risk. So it's all about how long you're exposed and for the volume, how loud the sound is that you're exposed to.
The younger generation, they're wearing earbuds all the time and listening to the music all the time. I mean, sometimes 6 hours or 5-6 hours a day. Do you think they are more exposed to hearing loss?
I do. And in my profession of audiology, we are quite concerned about the younger generation because there is such everybody is wearing earphones. If you look at kids, they have something in their ear all the time. You're exactly right. So we're very worried. And we also know hearing loss is on the rise with younger adults. And largely because of being exposed to music right at the level of their ear, the earbud goes right inside the ear. So the sound pressure level is much higher when it's that close. So what we recommend again is it's so important to take breaks. So if you are listening to music via headphones or earbuds, you need to take a break. So I wouldn't go longer than an hour before giving myself a 15-minute break to allow my ears to sort of reset themselves and, take a break from the bombardment of the sound. So that's very important. Take breaks. And if you're not taking breaks, then you need to turn the volume down.
Is the hearing loss reversible, doctor?
It's not if it's what we call sensory neural hearing loss, which is the most common. So sensory loss does result in permanent damage because, again, those hair cells will die and they will not grow back. So you will be left with permanent damage, and at this point, there is no cure, no magic pill or surgery that can restore those hair cells, that can regrow them. So yes, you will be left with permanent damage, and at this point, our main action or treatment for this type of hearing loss would be hearing aids.
When you're sleeping, what is the situation of your hearing system?
Your hearing system is active all the time. It never shuts down. It never shuts off. So you can potentially damage your hearing in your sleep. Yes. So it really is a system that is completely automatic. And aside from wearing hearing protection, there's really no way to turn them off.
A lot of people who work shift works, they plug their ears with earplugs while they're sleeping at daytime or, some other odd times. Do you say that those kind of earplugs will damage their hearing, or they will impact the part of that brain that's responsible for hearing?
No, wearing earplugs is not unsafe at all. In fact, it's the opposite. It provides protection in an environment where you can't control the sound. And for a lot of us, we aren't in control of the outside noise. I mean, you can't turn down traffic. You can't turn down a concert. You can't turn down the lawnmower. The sound is the sound. And so if it's too noisy, if it's too loud, and how you sort of know if it's too loud is if you can't have a conversation with someone, if you have to sort of yell over the noise to be heard, then that sound is unsafe. And so if you're going to be exposed to that for any length of time, hearing protection is recommended. So earplugs are not unhealthy or unsafe. You want them to be fit correctly. They can cause a little bit of pain if they're too big or not inserted properly. But other than that, it's actually recommended to wear them for protection.
Okay, which sounds are more damaging? The high-pitched squeaking voices are more damaging than the drums or some kind of bass they have?
Well, it's not really about the tone of the sound, but more so the decibel level. So that's the sound pressure level. So is it loud is really what you're trying to get away from. So anything that we say in the profession, anything above 85 decibels is considered unsafe for any length of time. So in occupations, the legislation, thankfully we have very good legislation now for noise-induced hearing loss. And so if you're working in a factory or somewhere where you have an 8-hour shift, you are mandated by law to be provided with hearing protection, and you should be wearing hearing protection if you're in that type of environment.
So if you've been working for many years in a noisy place or an industry, after that you kind of change your job and you're somewhere in the bush where there's no noise, do you think that damage that's previously done will be kind of recover?
Well, I mean, once the damage is done, it's done. And so before legislation was as strict as it is now, we definitely saw many construction workers, a lot of military serving, bus drivers, police, people who either for safety reasons can't wear hearing protection when they're on the job, or just weren't provided with hearing protection because the legislation wasn't there at the time. Those people ended up with permanent hearing loss due to noise, so noise-induced hearing loss, which is not a natural part of aging. But, you really sort of push things along when you have noise exposure. The natural part of aging will at some point, it will start to show up on a hearing test, but it starts showing much earlier when you've been exposed to many years of noise.
There's some home remedies. I have heard people, if you're hard of hearing, they would advise you that go get your ears cleaned. It's a wax that's obstructing the sound. So is that true?
So it can be true, but in all honesty, that is very rarely the case of why somebody's having trouble hearing. More often than not, they have a permanent hearing loss. But it's the very first thing we check when you come into our clinic to have a hearing evaluation. The first thing we're going to look at is to see if it's wax. So we will do a full examination of the ear and to see if there is anything blocking. Because yes, a blockage of wax in your ear canal will cause you to not hear as well. And that's easily remedied by simply removing the wax. And it's also a service we provide at our HearingLife clinics. So again, you can visit our website and come in. If you're wondering if maybe it's wax, we'll certainly be able to tell you that right away.
So what kind of professions do you see more hearing loss? Construction or some other professions?
Yeah, construction is a big one because for many years, it's very hard to regulate hearing protection. It's also another thing to say that you should wear it, but then actually getting workers to wear it all the time. So yes, lots of construction workers before legislation, many factory workers. I think who we see now, because again, it's unsafe for them to wear hearing protection, would be military, still lots of military, police, because if they're discharging their firearm while they're on the job, they can't obviously have time to put in earplugs before they are discharging their firearm. Bus drivers, because it's unsafe for them to wear hearing protection while operating the bus. And traffic, they're exposed to traffic noise all day for their shift. And if they're, working 30 years as a bus driver, that's a lot of exposure to traffic noise. So those are some of the professions that we will see that it's sort of inevitable that they will be exposed. Again, avid concert goers, musicians, lots of musicians, because, they're not going to wear hearing protection when they're performing normally. So anything where, part of your hobby, your passion, or your job puts you in a situation where you're around lots of noise.
Before we get into the hearing aids, I want to talk to you about the symptoms. What are the obvious symptoms of hard of hearing?
Yes, well, so the majority of people that we see, again, the type of hearing loss that they have is age-related hearing loss, and that it looks and sounds. It's a very specific thing that happens. So there are definite signs, and you want to look for these signs if, again, you're age 60 and over. And the first thing that starts to happen is you start to have trouble hearing in groups. So when you're in background noise or you have many people talking at once, that's sort of your first sign. So, maybe you don't struggle when you're just one-on-one or you're in quiet, but when you get into social gatherings where there might be background music, or you're at a restaurant and there's, dishes clanging and people chatting, you're not catching everything. You're catching parts of a conversation, but not all. The other symptoms that seem to come up is you start to ask for repetition. So you're noticing that you say pardon, or can you repeat that? People sound like they're mumbling. So the clarity of speech seems to be diminished. And you just start turning things up a little bit more. So, the radio goes up, the TV goes up, and maybe your family members make mention to you that, that's not comfortable for them. So why do you have the TV so loud? Or can you turn that down? It's too loud for me. So you start wanting things louder than your family members. Often your family is the first one to notice. It's kind of hard to know that you're missing things when you're not hearing them. And it's a very gradual thing that happens for most people. It's not like you just wake up one day and you don't hear as well. It's progressive. So it gets a little bit worse over time, and it's very gradual. So pay attention to what your family says, or your close ones. And if they're mentioning that maybe you're not hearing as well, I tell you, don't wait. Act now. Be proactive. Come in and get your hearing tested. It's not going to cost you anything, and it's always good to know. A baseline test is very important.
Doctor, what do you think about the hearing aids? Which are the best ones?
Well, just as your hearing loss is very unique to you, the treatment options that we would recommend when you come into our clinics are also very unique. So it's a sort of a 360 evaluation where we are looking at everything in your life. It's not just the results of the test that we look at. We look at your lifestyle. What are your hearing needs? What are your speech needs? Are you in background noise a lot? Are you socially active? So those are some of the things we need to consider, and we do consider. So it's a comprehensive way of looking at your hearing and the treatment options. Hearing aids are a wonderful treatment option for those with permanent hearing loss. The name of a hearing aid is pretty bang on, because a hearing aid cannot correct the damage that's already done. As I've mentioned, it's permanent. We can't give you back what you've lost, but what we can do is allow the hearing aid to do the work so that you do hear the sounds you were missing before. So it amplifies the sounds very specific to your hearing loss and your needs in order for you to just relax and be able to function the way you did before. And the amount of energy that you need to listen all day, when you don't wear hearing aids and you have a hearing loss, you'll notice that changes once you start wearing hearing aids, because the hearing aid does all the work for you.
Mm-hmm. And also, could you tell us that, is there any relation between hearing loss and dementia?
Yes. So there is a relationship. And again, with all the research that they're doing now, there are a number of theories of why there is a connection. But again, we are not at the point where we can say that one causes the other. What we do know is hearing loss is the most modifiable risk factor for those in midlife. So you can reduce your risk of dementia or cognitive decline the most by being proactive and treating any hearing loss. So it's really something that you don't want to put on the back burner. You want to get ahead of it, because treating hearing loss has been shown to reduce your risk. Wearing hearing aids can help to slow down the progression of hearing loss and of your risk of dementia or cognitive decline. It's, again, the most modifiable risk factors that has been found. And there are 12 that are in the Lancet study that has been cited in many, many research articles, and it's kind of the buzz in the news right now. But we do know it's very, very important to take care of your health. So hearing health is a big topic right now. So we're hoping that the listeners will pay attention, and that's one more reason to come in and get your hearing tested.
Yeah, there are a few callers. They want to talk to you, and they want to have some information. They have some questions. Hardeep Singh ji.
ਹੈਲੋ, ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ।
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ।
ਮੈਂ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਣਾ ਸੀ ਨਾ, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਰਾਤ ਨੂੰ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਹਾਂ ਨਾ, ਮੇਰੇ ਕੰਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਟੀ ਦੀਆਂ ਆਵਾਜ਼ਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਨਾ, ਕੰਨ ਭਾਰੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ। ਮੈਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਟਰੱਕ ਡਰਾਈਵ ਕਰਦਾ, ਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਆਇਲ ਜਿਹਾ ਲਿਖ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਸੀ, ਮੈਂ ਕੰਨਾਂ 'ਚ ਪਾਉਣਾ, ਪਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲ ਫਰਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਿਆ। ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕੰਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੇਰੇ ਟੀ ਦੀਆਂ ਆਵਾਜ਼ਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਰਾਤ ਨੂੰ ਸੌਂਦਾ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਕਿਤੇ ਬੈਠਾ ਆ। ਉਹ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਸੀਟ ਤੇ ਬੈਠਾ ਆ, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਏਦਾਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਵੀ ਕੰਨ ਭਾਰਾ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ, ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਕੰਨਾਂ 'ਚ।
ਆਪਾਂ ਪੁੱਛਦੇ ਜੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ, ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਰਹਿਣਾ। Doctor, the caller is a truck driver, and he says there's a ringing in his ears continuously. This noise is continuously coming and feels heavy ears.
Yes. So what he's describing is a term called tinnitus. It is very common in those who are exposed to noise, and truck drivers are a big one. Lots of traffic noise with truck drivers. So a lot of individuals who have hearing loss will also have tinnitus, and the number one cause of tinnitus is noise exposure. So for this caller, I would definitely recommend a hearing evaluation. And again, this is free at HearingLife, so you could go on our website and find a clinic near him. He wants to get that done first. We need to do a full evaluation, and there is some treatments available to help with the ringing. So I encourage him to come and call and or book an appointment online. We are, during COVID, all of our clinics are open. We are seeing our patients by appointment only. So, but he can certainly book an appointment, and we would be happy to help.
But can he recover from this?
It depends. You would have to have an evaluation. Trying to find the cause of tinnitus. We know that there are certain causes. So once we do that full evaluation, we would be able to determine a little bit better. For most people, though, tinnitus is permanent unless we can identify the source. Some medications cause tinnitus, so changing up your medications or your dosage might help. Sometimes it's due to your diet, your sleep patterns, your stress levels. So there's lots of things we can do to help with it, help to relieve it. But, saying that we can completely make it go away, that's a harder one to promise.
But he said doctor has given us some kind of oil, didn't help.
Yeah, the oil might have been for wax, because a plug of wax or a blockage in the ear canal can also cause tinnitus. Yeah. So if you do have wax, you want to get that removed, and that could alleviate it. It can be gone after that. Again, an ear infection can cause tinnitus. Like I said, certain medications. If you drink a lot of caffeine, so a lot of coffee or tea, that also makes it worse. Alcohol, smoking, there's a long list of things.
Let me take the second caller. Charanjit Kaur ji.
ਮੇਰੇ ਹਸਬੰਡ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ ਰੇਲਵੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਦੋਨੇ ਹੀ ਕੰਨ ਹੌਲੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਹੀ ਬੰਦ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੁਣਨਾ, ਮਸ਼ੀਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਬਿਨਾਂ ਸੁਣਦਾ ਨੀਗਾ। 30 ਸਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਰੇਲਵੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਤੇ ਪਰ ਉਹ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਮਝ ਲੱਗਦੀ ਹੈਗੀ। ਅਸੀਂ WCB ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਕੰਪਲੇਨ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ, ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਕੰਮ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਆ, ਤੇ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲਿਸਟ ਵੀ ਦੇਖਿਆ, ਅੱਗੇ 2 ਵਾਰੀ ਸਰਜਰੀ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਚੁੱਕੀ ਕੰਨਾਂ ਦੀ, ਪਰ ਹੁਣ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਹੀ ਹੀਅਰਿੰਗ ਏਡਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਿਨਾਂ ਸੁਣਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ। ਉਹ ਏਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਰਹੂਗੇ।
Doctor, her husband he has been working for a railway company for 30 years. Now he's hard of hearing. Surgery has been performed, and now he's hearing with the hearing aid. She's wondering, he will remain like this forever, or can he hear without the hearing aids ever?
Okay. It's hard without seeing his chart, but I'm going to make the assumption, and it's probably correct, that the type of hearing loss that he has is either all sensory neural or partial sensory neural. And with that type of hearing loss, it's permanent. There's no way to restore that. So it will never come back to normal levels, but hearing aids will allow him to hear the sounds he's missing on his own.
ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਭੈਣ ਜੀ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਪਰਮਾਨੈਂਟ ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਠੀਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ, ਪਰ ਹੀਅਰਿੰਗ ਏਡ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਹ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਰਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ। ਰਾਜਵੀਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ,
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਸਿੰਘ ਸਾਹਿਬ।
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਮੇਰਾ ਇਹ ਸਵਾਲ ਸੀ, ਮੇਰਾ ਨਾ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਰਾਤ ਨੂੰ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਸੌਂ ਜਾਂਦਾ, ਸਵੇਰੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਉੱਠਦਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਖੱਬਾ ਕੰਨ ਨਾ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਹੀ ਬੰਦ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਤੇ ਹੌਲੀ ਹੌਲੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਦੁਪਹਿਰ ਤੱਕ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਖੁੱਲਦਾ। ਫਿਰ
ਕੀ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ?
ਰੂਫਿੰਗ ਦਾ ਜੀ।
ਓਕੇ ਡਾਕਟਰ, ਹੀ ਇਜ਼ ਅ ਰੂਫਰ and his left ear is totally closed at night time, and then next day after lunchtime or during lunchtime then it opens up again. What is this?
With that little bit of information, a couple things come to mind that he should check out. One could be wax. So laying down changes the position of the wax. So I would have him come to our clinics to have his ear examined. It could be fluid behind the eardrum, and again, laying down causes him to feel plugged up. And that is something we can see with our examination. Or it could also be related to his sinuses because, again, lying down changes the fluid in your sinus cavity, and it could be allergy related or sinus related, where the system or the sinuses open up during the day, and when he's in that laying down position, they close back up. So all of those, he should come and get it checked.
ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜੀ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਸੌਣ ਦੀ ਪੋਜੀਸ਼ਨ ਨਾਲ ਜਾਂ ਕੰਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੈਲ ਹੋਵੇ, ਜਾਂ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਸਾਈਨਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਨੱਕ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰਲਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਚੈਂਬਰ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੰਬੰਧਿਤ ਹੋਵੇ। ਜਦੋਂ ਨੱਕ ਦਾ ਉੱਪਰਲਾ ਚੈਂਬਰ ਖੁੱਲ੍ਹ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਫਿਰ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਦਿਨੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਠੀਕ ਸੁਣਨ ਲੱਗ ਪੈਂਦੇ ਹੋ। ਪਰ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਚੈੱਕ ਕਰਵਾਓ, ਕਲੀਨਿਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹਦੀ ਪੂਰੀ ਇਨਵੈਸਟੀਗੇਸ਼ਨ ਕਰਾਓ। Doctor, what is your website again?
Yes, so it's www.hearinglife, all one word, .ca.
Hearing, right?
Hearing Life, so LIF.
HearingLife.ca.
.ca.
Okay.
Yes.
www.hearinglife.ca.
Correct.
So then you can find your nearest clinic, and then you can go there and get checked.
Correct. Very easy. You'll see there's a spot to put your postal code in, and it will give you all of the clinics within a certain radius and allow you to either book online or give you the phone number that you can call directly and book.
Dr. Price, thank you very much. I really appreciate this.
You're very welcome. Thanks again for having me.
Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to another Red FM podcast. Don't forget to hit subscribe and check out our Red FM Canada YouTube channel. For further info, log on to our Red FM social media platforms or visit redfm.ca.